Hi guys, welcome. Welcome home, welcome back, welcome aboard. As always, completely and totally dependent on where you happen to be in relation to this channel. This week, these messages and this energy, right? So this is the weekly What's Up for the 5th of December through the 11th of December, 2022. Let's talk about the stars first. On Monday, we start off with a Taurus moon. We have a quincunx to the sun early in the day, and then a conjunction to retrograding Uranus, and then later in the day, a square to Saturn. Did I see what I think I just saw? I guess not. Did I? I don't know. So this Monday, right, the 5th, this is kind of a push-pull kind of day, right? So yourself, right, your identity might feel a little fiery and expressive, like you want to go exploring, and your heart might be kind of not in the mood for risky business or risky, taking any kind of risk, right? We want to stay grounded. We want to stay with our feet on the ground, and that conjunction to Uranus, here's the deal, that is the shift, right? That is the upswing. That is the place where freedom and independence are going to assert themselves, right? And in the end, that innovative energy is going to win, at least for a while. There is a square to Saturn later in the evening. Here's the deal. That's all about how do I get back to grounded, right? How do I get back to ground instead of deciding really to choose to dig your feet in. Perhaps allow the dynamic tension of that moon square Saturn to fuel those innovations that came in early in the day, right? So the fact of the matter is you get to choose shift or stagnation, when in fact you can really choose something new, something else entirely, something out of routine. And in fact, that is what the energy is recommending for the day. So choose wisely. On Tuesday, the 6th, we've got the moon sextile to Uranus. Mercury squares Jupiter overnight. This is all overnight. And then the moon quincunx is Venus, which is in Sagittarius. And then just in time for coffee, the moon will trine Pluto in Capricorn. Wow, dudes. Right. And then we have a moon quincunx Mercury before the moon slides right into Gemini in the afternoon. And not long after, Mercury moves into Capricorn. Here's the deal. Truth on Tuesday will be kind of hard to reconcile, right? Much less to express. There is a very multi-layered kind of energy with Jupiter in Neptune. Jupiter in Pisces. You know, kind of the same thing. This is that better felt than spoken energy, right? So it is, it's a hard square, right, to Mercury, and Mercury's in Sagittarius. So this is like blurty energy. This is that no sugar-coated truth energy. And then Jupiter in Pisces is really better felt than spoken. So that's a challenge, right? Those are challenges in and of themselves. So that insistence of that Sagittarius energy, where Venus is sitting, Mercury. Where Mercury is sitting, it's very insistent, right? And so that moon in Taurus is really going to put up resistance. But the thing is that resistance is this, that grounding resistance. No. And so here's the deal. As the moon moves into Gemini later on in the day, that's going to open a window, right? It's going to open a window, and Gemini, we know, is limitless possibility, right? Endless potential. Every angle is covered, right? Every parallel universe is well within that Gemini energy. Now, not long after that, Mercury moves into Capricorn. So here's the deal. if you can really get that intention right, that Mercury will come in and allow the practical application of all of those plans, all of those heartfelt plans, right? So keep that in mind as you travel through that day, as you deal with that that polarity of, am I feeling, am I immersing myself, am I experiencing, am I in my feels, right? They ultimately are the same thing. But the deeper you can go, the more manifestation power you're going to have, the more expression power you're going to have later. Now, on Wednesday the 7th, this is the day of the full moon. So this day starts off with that Gemini moon sextiling Chiron. And then we have 16 degrees of Gemini, our full moon, right after the sun quincunxes Uranus, right? Uranus is a big player this week. So we have that full moon conjunct Mars. And of course, Mars is in retrograde. And then later on, not long after, we also have the sun opposing Mars, right? Right. So we know this. So here's the deal. The day starts by stirring up old stories, right? That sextile to Chiron. You have choices. You can choose the old story. You can choose the new story. It doesn't, there's no prescription. You just get to pick. But here's the deal. Be in tune with what you're telling, right? And remember that Mars is retrograde. So this is an inner story. This is your inner story of your progress, of your motion, right? So the full moon is going to illuminate that for you, make that an easy thing for you to witness. Here's the deal. Neptune is direct. And so again, this is that better felt than spoken energy. So the deepest and highest work is your own felt story, right? The work is there. The light is there, right? And so as we have that full moon, right, that's the moon opposing the sun, and then later we have the sun opposing Mars. So this is about your identity as limitless, right? So the words for the day are, I feel, therefore I am, right? So you get to feel any kind of way that you want. So if you can fall back on that I feel, therefore I am, and let that be your guide, right? This is Mars. This is internal motion. Internal motion. So just be mindful. Be mindful of what you're feeling, what feeling you're allowing to pull you forward, to invite you to movement, right? Inner movement. On Thursday, the 8th. Why, hello. We see you, friend. All right, on Thursday, the moon in Gemini trines Saturn, squares Neptune, quincunxes Pluto, and then opposes Venus. Here's the deal. Two ways this day can go for you. You can be feeling like you're lost in the fog, or you can be feeling like you're lost in the limitless, right? That fallout from the full moon is still going to be present. Again, we are invited to lean into that better felt than spoken energy, right? With this moon squaring Neptune, still pulling on that energy. So remember, when it feels challenging, that is not just your adrenaline, right? That is not just fear. You can override it by deepening and widening your roots instead of uprooting. Listen to that again. You can override the challenge, the fear, the adrenaline by deepening and widening your roots, right? And allowing yourself to root more deeply instead of just uprooting. And here's the deal. In that deep and wide is really where the work is anyway. So there is also that very late activation of the moon opposing Venus in Sagittarius, which leads us to Friday. Friday, 13 minutes in Central Time, the moon squares Jupiter. Not long after that, the moon then slides into Cancer. And then just in time for coffee, Venus in Sagittarius squares Jupiter. A big day, right? Venus squaring Jupiter. And then the moon opposes Mercury, and then Venus herself is going to move into Capricorn. This is a busy celestial day, right? So this is a qualitatively different feeling, right? So this day can feel zealous, right? Or it can feel like a faith walk, depending on your chosen echolocation. So here's the deal. This is about allowing that echolocation, and by that I mean your feeling sense, right? Echolocation is how we resonate, how we move through with resonance, right? Bats move with echolocation, dolphins, right? And so they are constantly emitting their own resonance signal and then allowing that to be their guide, as opposed to their sensory organ that is visual. So this allows you to move by feeling, by resonance, as opposed to what looks good, right? And we know that what feels good is always our best option. So if you allow that echolocation to be your primary sensory invitation today. So, right, we've got that Venus in Sagittarius, which is all about immersing into your experience. And then Jupiter in Pisces, which is all about feeling into your experience. Wow. Okay, we're just going to let that be it, because that was the first one I saw. It was very exciting. Wow. Anyway, once the moon moves into Cancer, the question will be, how well can you hold your heart open, right? Get that beacon, that echolocational beacon, pinging on home, right? And we know that home is all about better felt than spoken. Home is all about what you feel, right? Where you know yourself to be recognized. And so the thing is, after the moon, after Venus moves into Capricorn, this is all about how you know you're going to get there, right? You know, because Venus in Capricorn knows what she wants and she knows how to get it. So be sure that you've got that beacon set to home, because whatever you set the beacon to is where you're going today during this Venus cycle. So be clear, especially with that Venus squaring Jupiter before she turns. Take this day, take some time on this day to feel deeply into where you want your heart and your soul to live. Right? What do you want to be experiencing? And the only way to do that is to get in touch with your feelings. Mercy. On Saturday, which is the 10th, that Cancer moon, wow, why am I having a hard time with that? That Cancer moon squares Chiron, sextiles Uranus, quincunxes both the Sun and Saturn, and then trines Neptune at the end of the day. Do not allow doubts to creep into your experience today. Keep your mind on your limitlessness. Right? Don't dig your heels in. Do not stubbornly tell old stories. Don't call on your old limitations. Your identity is you're getting shit done, right? So don't fold back in on yourself. Growth is an inner impulse, right? So keep pecking away, because that's how we grow, that's how we shift, that's how we change. Just like an egg has to be broken from the inside in order to allow that new life to emerge, so do you have to grow from the inside. You can't be broken from the outside. Otherwise, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. No, then you do fold back in on yourself, and nobody wants that. On Sunday, the 11th, the moon in Cancer opposes Pluto, which is in Capricorn. Then the moon trines Jupiter, and then she blazes right into Leo. And around dinner time on Sunday, the 11th, the moon will quincunx Venus, which is in Capricorn. So this is a day for practical applications, right? A practical, pragmatic approach of love and home and family. And here's the deal. The deeper that you allow your guard down is exactly and precisely proportional to how much you may be given. So go deep. Really, go early, go wide, and then in the afternoon, go all the way in, right, without holding back, and just lean into your shine. remember that it's your call and your creation, and all of that, how deeply you resonate as home, is exactly how deeply you're available, how your capacity is to process your feeling experience. Remember, I feel, therefore I am. They are inextricably interconnected. And so your availability to shine is exactly how brightly you are able. So allow yourself, right? Lean into your limitlessness. That's what this little full moon cycle is all about. So let's talk. Monday, we've got the King of Swords, the Queen of Wands, right? So this is about ideas and really being available to that that idea of how things can be, right? Your capacities, your expressions, your availability to concepts and abstracts, right? And then the Queen of Wands is all about how can I feel that? How can I feel it, right? And so we talked about this as a push-pull kind of day, right? Being kind of fiery and expressive and explorational, and then really not wanting to take those risks, right? The King of Swords wants to weigh his options first, right? So we know that the pendulum will always move back and forth between the two. But on this particular day, that innovator is going to win. And then how do you get back to ground? Well, the King of Swords, right, has the capacity to really put all of those into effect. He just likes to do it in a methodical way, right? We've got a square to Saturn. You get to choose, right, to utilize that dynamic tension. Guess what? The Queen of Wands, she's all about it. I don't mind feeling that dynamic tension because I know that my vision, my highest vision, is guiding me. So allow the innovation to be your guide. Allow that what's new, the idea of what comes next, to really be your guide on Tuesday. We have the Queen of Pentacles, the Ace of Wands, right? So Queen of Pentacles, this is about how you practically create your 3D experience. Ace of Wands is about something that blazes in, right? Some impulse, some passionate idea, some all of a sudden inspiration. So we talked about this as a day of feeling as though it may be hard to reconcile your concept of truth, much less hard to express it. There might be a feeling of being blurty and insistent, right? And that's okay. But lean into the limitless potential of this day and know that you have that practical, earthy expression to that beautiful impulse that will be within your capability, and that you have nothing but capability to make that passionate awareness part of your reality, right? The Queen of Pentacles knows exactly what she's doing and exactly how to get that done. So when that idea comes in, make sure that you're in reception, knowing that you have full use of all the resources, right? Look at all these giant royalty this week, right? We got a lot going on. So we have the Queen of Cups and the Three of Wands. Beautiful. What a beautiful pairing, right? For our full moon day. This is long-term planning. This is all of those impulses, right? Coming into you, knowing that what you're planting is going to literally show up in your reality. So here's the deal. We talked about this as not really being, let's call it, limited by any old stories, and knowing that all of those things that are passionate, that are that do spark your juice, right, that get you out of bed in the morning like, yeah, this is what I want, and your availability to feel all of those whys beneath them, right? Queen of Cups is all about, I am well within my comfort zone to feel every emotion, right, to not just be bound by you know, the consequences or the possibilities. Well, you know what? That Gemini full moon energy is all about illuminating every possibility, every one of them, and being fearless about all of them, but pulling in what you want, right? What your heart's desire is all about. This is the story of your inner progress, right? Your emotions are your inner progress. And so as this full moon illuminates all of those things that are better felt than spoken, understand that your deepest and higher work is your own felt story, right? What are you calling toward you? That's where the work is. That's where the light is. Simply to know that when you feel it, you can allow it. And when you allow it, you're going to feel it, right? So again, I feel, therefore I am. Always utilizing your heart and soul as your default. On Thursday, listen, we've got the 10 of Cups, right? Highest emotional satisfaction, highest emotional contentment, shared emotional bliss. And then we've got the 5 of Swords. The 5 of Swords is a card of, let's call it, it's Pyrrhic victory, right? So it's winning just for winning's sake. Giving no regard to the cost, to what you destroy in the process. And so we talked about this as a day of being two ways, right? You can be lost in the fog, or you can be lost in the limitless. Lost in the fog is, it doesn't matter. I have to be right. I have to do it this way. It has to be, this is my idea. This is my fallback. This is my story. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold on to it no matter what I destroy in the process. And then 10 of Cups is, we have the capacity, the emotional capacity to share without fear. So we talked about this as the day where when you feel like it's challenging, remembering that it's not just your fear or your adrenaline, right, or your need to be right, that you can override it by deepening and widening your roots instead of uprooting, right? And then that depth and width is where all the work is anyway. So always lean in to your felt experience. You don't have to be right. It doesn't matter if you're right. It matters if you feel heard and you feel witnessed and you feel understood. This kind of, 5 is that posturing energy. So there's no investment here. There's no victory. There's no win. There's just words, right? And this is about that felt experience. On Friday, we have the Page of Cups and Page of Pentacles. So these are things coming toward you, right? Cups is about new ways to feel. Pentacles are about new opportunities, new ways to be in relation to your resourcedness. And we said this is a qualitatively different feel, right? So this is about things coming toward you. And we talked about how you can show up as zealous today, or you can show up as really being involved in your faith, right? Looking for that echolocation. And here's the deal. If you utilize that echolocation as your primary sensory invitation, then you will always get where you're going. This page energy is kind of an invitation, right? It's something that shows up and says, hey, would you like this? Hey, how does that feel to you? Hey, what might this look like? Hey, doesn't this sound great? So this is about emotions and resourced and the way that you can always echolocate yourself back to that sense of home. Right? And the way that you do that is to feel what that feels like, and then know that as you move, you will always be, your way will always be lit. You will always be provided for. You will always have the resources necessary to find your way home, right? It's just about having the faith to take that first step along the path. On Saturday, we have got the 9 of Swords. We've got the Priestess, the High Priestess. So 9 of Swords is an energy of anxiety, right? This is what wakes you up in the middle of the night, where you fixate your energy in terms of perhaps not being productive, but being in that spiral of these are my thoughts and this is what I think about them. These are my thoughts and this is what I think about them. And telling those old stories, right? So we talked about this as a day to not let any doubts creep into your mind, and to really mind your limitlessness, not digging your heels in, not telling old stories, not calling in your old limitations, right? Your identity is definitely not something you want to fold back on. We talked about growth as an inner impulse, right? So here you have your 3D experience, your mind, your consciousness, and here you have your subconscious mind, which says to you, dig deeper, look beyond what these are. Look beyond to your own actual power, to your own true identity, not simply your thoughts, right? Your thoughts are not you. Your soul is you. And so this is a day where we're invited to not just acknowledge that, but to put it into practice and keep pecking away internally, right? On Sunday, look, we've got the Empress and the King of Wands. Okay, so we have our divine pair here. Lovely. So our Cancer moon is going to oppose Pluto, trine Jupiter, and then she blazes into Leo before she quincunxes Venus later on in the day. So again, we're talking about practical applications of love, home, and family. Look, the Empress is literally fertile ground. Anything that you choose to call in, most assuredly is on its way to you, right? You are manifesting in perfect form. The King of Wands understands the power of manifestation, and all of this pulls together these energies from the week, right? All of this wand energy, this passionate invitation energy that we have throughout this week is all, I think it's there. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So the King of Wands is about creation from your inspiration, perfect creation from your inspiration, right? And so we talked about this as being the day where the deeper you allow your guard down is precisely proportionate to how much you may be given, right? Go deep. Go all in. Go all in, because you cannot lose. Right? You resonate as home, and all you can do is call it in and witness it being created for you. So shine, 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 right? Shine. Come on. Who can argue with this? And then we have, of course, do I even need to talk about it? Align to the divine. Find your highest and best and call that in. I don't think we've ever gotten this card, so I'm a little excited. The Fates, right? This is lovely. I love the artwork. Let's see what it has to say. The Fates. Yeah, fate, karma, acceptance that there are things you cannot change and knowing what those things are. The Serenity Prayer sums up the meaning of this card. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, let's just stop there for a minute. The serenity to accept the things I cannot change, right? Okay, so are there things that you cannot change? Other people, right? All you can change is yourself, right? All you can change is yourself. The courage to change the things I can. We have so much action and call to action this week here. And that way where we can change the things that we are able, right, by simply changing ourself and our perception and our perspective of where we're aligned, and the courage and the wisdom to know the difference, right? The wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference. Boy, I sure like that. All right, let's go on. There are things in life you will never have control over. The conditions brought on by the evolution of the collective, other people, by nature, and by your past experiences may be fated, preordained by spirit for a greater purpose you cannot understand in this lifetime. Right? Okay, I'm down with that. It may not be in your cards to understand why certain events occurred, but you can accept the mystery and work with what those events and your current circumstances have to teach you. This is the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer. Other people are who they are. Look at how many people we have in this reading. There are so many people, right? People everywhere in this reading. Other people are who they are. You can't change them. The challenge is to accept them as they are and not try to make them otherwise to suit you. This is a time to look at how you attempt to mold people to fit your view of how they should be, so you can remain in a relationship and avoid discomfort. I might say the actual converse of that is true. What if who they are and whatever is happening between you and them in this situation is perfect from the perspective of spirit? Now is the time to accept what you cannot change, even if it means honoring yourself, spirit, and the other person by moving on. Love unconditionally. For each of us is on our own journey, and we cannot direct that of another. Be aware that this relationship is indeed fated, and you are meant to evolve into a better version of yourself as a result of it. Okay. Interestingly, that comes up in many conversations that I'm having with many different people, both clients and friends. Loving people where they stand is the highest way you can love yourself, right? And really following the impulse toward movement and trusting the resourced nature of your experience is how we align to the divine, right? And so what we know is that all these people in our lives can be our teachers if we allow them to be. So what comes in is exactly what we have called, and every single thing that we upgrade in order to put our new ideas, our new impulses, our new heart's desires into effect, always has that beautiful capacity to find us more and deeper into our alignment. I feel, therefore I am, right? Yes, you do. Hopefully we'll get a hold of this full moon and see what it has to say more deeply, right? Until then, just dig into your heart, right? Mars retrograde motion is really asking you to do that, and Jupiter in Pisces right now is really allowing you to do it in a much deeper and wider fashion than you normally would. And as Venus shifts from Sagittarius to Capricorn, you really have an opportunity to put those lessons into play. So yeah, keep digging. You're doing great. Big blessings.